marketing in 2025 isn't what it used to be. The old tricks are fading fast, and Amazon keeps changing the rules. If you've ever felt like the algorithm is working against you, today's conversation is for you. I'm joined by Joe Solari, a business strategist, consultant, and co founder of Author Nation. Since 2016, he's been helping best selling authors build stronger publishing businesses, and with his partner, Lisa Gardina, he manages over $14 million in royalties. He's also the author of The Hidden Rules of Amazon, an amazing article, link inside the description, by the way, which breaks down how the platform really decides which books rise to the top. We're going to dig really deep in this, in the latest insights, including why consistency now beats launch spikes, how unread books can actually hurt your visibility, and what you can do to, quote unquote, train Amazon to favor your titles. Joe Solari, welcome to the channel. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing awesome. Wow, you did a lot of work on that intro.
I think,
You're
well,
hired.
it's funny. You sent me the link to your article. Fantastic, by the way. We're going to definitely go diving deep into that one. But I already had everything kind of planned out, and you sent that over to me, and I'm like, crumpled up my paper. I tossed it out. I was like, no, we're running with this. I try to take pride in the fact that I pay attention to what my guests are doing, especially you, Joe. You've always had such a great pulse, not on just the indie author community, but in the author community as a whole. Man, it's just always been so impressive. And this is the second time you've been on the channel, so I'm really geeked up to have you back, man.
Wow, yeah, it's always good to be on here. I love chatting with you and exploring these topics. So let's get it on.
Alrighty, Joe. So let's just start with the article because I'm
Yeah.
already excited about it as it is. The Hidden Rules of Amazon. What inspired you to write it? And what's the single biggest misconception authors have about how Amazon works?
So this all came out of just the kind of general hubbub on social media about what's going on with rank, right? For those of us that have been around for a while, we've been used to a very responsive Amazon bestseller rank on books, hourly updates, right? And we get in a launch mode where we're tracking and seeing how things go, and we have had folks like, what's going on? Is it impacting my ability to get visibility and discoverability? And it just that started the question in my mind, and I just started diving deeper and deeper into research. And it was one of these things where you find that thread where you pull on it, and then all this stuff comes out. And I found some initial, it's not new. Like, this stuff's been around since 2016
Yeah.
about how the algorithm works. It's just, we're so used to looking in like our world, the author world.
Yeah.
We don't look in the world where we should be, which is the data scientist world, which is where these people are talking about how search, discoverability, ranking, and recommendation all work. So, like, that's what started this off. But I would say that the second part of your question, like, what's the biggest thing that we need to be observant about, is that there are things today that are driving the algorithm, and we'll probably unravel what the algorithm really is. Um, that if you're not paying attention to them, you could do things that will hurt you in the long run.
Yeah. So you just hit. What is that one thing that could hurt, or is it a combination of many things?
It, so I'll give you probably one of the things that like hit me the hardest was, um, having been around this industry since 2000, 14, 15, and the things that we would do to get to be number one in a category,
Mhm.
um, discounting the book, stacking promotions, doing a bunch of swaps, and doing a bunch of things
Mhm.
that would result in a lot of people getting their hands on the book. And transactionally, you get velocity, and your book climbs up in rank.
Yeah.
And so you get your orange tag, and you get your screenshot, and all the fun stuff that we love to have. But there's a 2016 article called The Joy of Ranking, where the data scientists at Amazon talk about, they have since 2016 on all digital products. So this is audio, books, and movies, they're tracking actual consumption of those books or those items. So what does that mean is that if you go and get a bunch of people to download your book and they don't read it, that is going to be negatively scored long run in recommendation, right? So,
Interesting. So this
yeah.
means is not it the relationship does not live and die by sales anymore. It's about that engagement beyond that sale that makes the most difference.
Yeah, and I think if we unpack um, the whole idea of like there's a fast and a slow system
Mhm.
on Amazon. So there is that kind of, and again, some of this stuff is historical, how they developed. And let me just preface this is like there is no one single algorithm that's doing everything. These
Yeah.
things are layered. They're different in every single store, and they're different in a lot of categories.
Mhm.
So there's things that are handing off from each other based on what you land on a page and what you start looking for. And when you okay, I land on my recommendation page on Amazon that's got the coffee and the books and all the stuff that I kind of look at. I click on books. Now I drive down in there. Now it's starting to use different systems. Um, what we used to really focus on was sales, right? And in the early days, it was triggering it with just the number of sales. And now we know that sales velocity, so it's not just a 99-cent sale, but how many sales at full price gets you better results. But then that's that fast system, right? That's the stuff that they can see really quickly, like clicks and
Yeah.
purchases. But then there's these other systems that are pretty data intensive,
Mhm.
like this idea of how much your book was read, right?
Yeah.
Well, they'll look at that over time, they'll process that, they'll give that some kind of weighting that then is used in those other faster systems. So there's this feedback loop that happens. And when we forget to think about the whole life cycle of the book, then what happens is you may be doing things for the short term that look really good, but then, oh, nobody reads this book.
Mhm.
Th- Amazon's going to weight that negatively.
Mm. Does that mean then, and this is a random question off the top of my head, does this mean that ebooks are weighted completely different than, say, print books? Because obviously it's not like Amazon, well, I hope they're not, coming and tracking down people as they're reading their hardcover or paperback version of your latest book.
Yeah, they would be two different systems.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's much more complex for ebooks, whereas it's probably just a little bit less sophisticated when it comes to the actual physical products. Then,
Yeah, when you think about it, we know, and we've known this for a while, whether you look at stuff that I've done or stuff you've talked about on your show or stuff that's been on Kindlepreneur, is we know that there's a weighting towards downloads versus sales. So it's credited like a sale if you get a download in KU. And
yeah,
this is stuff I know has been, at least with Kindlepreneur guys, we've worked on a project around that. We know how that impacts rank.
yeah,
So yeah, that's something they wouldn't be able to see on a print book. Um,
interesting.
so yeah,
Looking at you kind of touched on something real briefly here, and it's all about consistency, which is beating the whole launch spike. Something that we've been kind of just it's been ingrained, and I'll be the first person to tell you that I've been one person that has encouraged things like that, but I have seen the decline of the effectiveness of it over the past, I'd say, 5 years. Why does Amazon reward steady performance more than the big release push most authors still chase now?
yeah. So I think there's two things to talk about. One we could double click on is the whole cold start problem,
Hmm.
and that's when you're how do they place and rank something that's new. And we've been kind of uh, gaming that cold start issue. Um, but the other part of the answer to that question is that as technology has gotten more sophisticated, machine learning has developed, and where things are going to be going with AI, Amazon has more and more information that they can use to give more sophisticated recommendations. And so when you think about how Amazon's thinking about merchandising, the recommendation, right, which comes up when you land on that page, what shows up on a page that they generate, when you go into your cart and you're getting ready to check out, all of the emails that get sent to you, all of those things are recommendations. And the more that they can glean from the information on their website and this idea about how items relate to other items, and it depends where you want to go, how deep in the weeds we get, right? Because this gets into that whole idea of um, separate from the transactional stuff that happens around a cold start, and like, how do I know that you're going to like these books in military science fiction when you've never bought a book in military science fiction,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then you do,
It seems a little
and then I
suspect.
right. So now that you bought a book in military science fiction, now I can use all the relationships I have in my database as Amazon about military science fiction item to item comparison. So what we typically call the also bots.
Yeah.
So this is from a data scientist perspective, is like, how do we solve this problem? We have millions of people that have these, very different buying patterns, and they have stuff that they buy regularly and stuff that they never buy, only buy occasionally.
Mhm.
How do I help them once they do buy that occasional item to drive them down a rabbit hole? And they discovered back in like 2016 to 2018, the more that we wait on item to item relationships, because those are very stable, right? And so now that gets into some of the things that we as authors have been doing, is like, why did we see such advantage in people that wrote series? Well, those are really strong relationships, book to book to book in a series. Or I'm an author that writes multiple series, right? Like, so now my series have relationships to each other.
Yeah.
And then other people read. So, like, they create more of that network that allows those recommendations to happen versus that initial issue, which is in rank, like, how do I see that this product is trending right now? And
Yeah.
that's when they kind of lean heavier on the sales piece. I think
Wow.
that answered the question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got it. You got it pretty thorough. And the funny thing is that I'm going to encourage everybody. We're not going to spend the entire interview talking about this article because it's so detailed, so in depth. And I even gushed about it with you before we went live. It's just absolutely impressive the level of detail that you went into. Like, this is literally like a short book, in my opinion. So we could probably go for a couple hours, but I kind of want to shift over to Author Nation. It's your baby. We got to talk about
Yes.
that. You've
Yeah.
built it into the premier author conference in the United States. What role do you see events like Author Nation playing in the changing of the indie publishing ecosystem?
Yeah. So I think that the business we're in is a business of experiences, right? Like,
Yeah.
the way it's conveyed is, you imagine the story, you put it into print, or you have an audiobook, and then somebody experiences that. Um, we're kind of in the same business. It's just we have a live event that's focused on education and also on networking.
Yeah.
So for me, it just seems to be obvious that when we're thinking about how where the industry could be in 5 years, is rather than just hoping it goes a certain way, is why don't we get together as a group and figure this out and drive it a certain way?
Yeah.
And I personally believe that um, as there's more and more artifice in the world with AI, and who knows if the person on the video is a real person anymore, like
Yes.
right, is people are going to look for authentic connection.
Yeah.
And weirdly, where I'm seeing most of the growth in the industry is around live events and around physical product,
Mhm.
whether that's on Kickstarter or buying limited edition books at an event. I think that people have had it kind of with subscriptions and digital products, and they want their live concerts and t-shirts, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
there's something to that, like, how can I make this pop culture experience that I love, in an intimate way, like reading, into something that's more real in my life, whether that's books on my shelf or meeting the author and talking to the author and hanging out with people that are as crazy about the characters in that book as I am.
Yeah.
So that's what we're building. And so there's kind of the two facets. There's the author nation component, which is author education, networking, what's the trends, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, wow, we have 1,100, it'll probably be closer to 1,200 authors by, because we're 30 days out, we sell most of our tickets now. Um, at this event, what if we invited readers to come meet with them,
Mhm.
which is the Reader Nation piece? And now we have these overlapping networks
Yeah.
that complement each other. And here's the dirty secret: without readers, we're all broke.
Yeah. It's a big problem if you're just shouting into a void, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a nice hobby, and I'm not saying if you got a book in your soul you need to write, go ahead and do that. But like, if you're
Absolutely.
trying to make this into um, a full time career or supplement your income, people have to resonate with your stories enough that they're willing to part with money. Right?
Yeah. So
What
true.
model that stuff we talk about at the show, right? There's lots of different models.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like you read my mind because I wanted to talk about Reader Nation next because I think it's genius. The model that you have now with Author Nation and Reader Nation reminds me so much of the video creator community. There's a very large creator conference called VidCon, and
Yeah,
VidCon
familiar.
is that mixture of video creators and also the fandom that comes with that. And I've never been able to experience it, but I think I'm really excited to experience it from an author standpoint because obviously this will be my first year at Author Nation, so kind of geeked up about it. All right, Reader Nation. Speaking of community, you and your team got over 3,700 registrations for Reader Nation. What specific strategies work to drive that kind of turnout, and how can indie authors apply those same principles to build their own audiences?
That's it's a that's a great question. And so let me start out with an epic fail.
Okay.
So last year was it was called Rave, and we were in this, we're in this process of a rebranding and rebuilding. So I was confident that what we needed to do was focus on high value readers. So we went with a high ticket, right? We focused on, $250 silver package and VIP and all this stuff. We did not have very good results. I mean, we did get people to show up. We had more people show up than in previous years, but it was one of these things where I was like, oh, not you got to learn from your mistakes and when things don't work like you think they're going to work out. So this year we flipped the script, and what we did is we focused on the idea of a free ticket. So how do we just get foot traffic in the building,
Yeah.
right? And then once they do sign up for that ticket, we do an upsell where it's like, if you would like our VIP swag bag and an added you're going to get a lot of books in that. It's a really good value. $50, right? So we're closing in on 6,000 registrations.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
So that number has drastically increased since you and I last talked about it.
Well, yeah, it's right because and by the way, what I did is like I've actually shrunk down our focus. Like when we first
Yeah.
started, we were looking at kind of the West Coast, and right now all we're doing is marketing to the Las Vegas metro
Just
area.
Vegas.
Just Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant because you didn't
Yeah.
cast this giant net. Instead, you were very focused. And so, how could an author that's listening to this translate that to where they can apply this to their own business?
Yeah. So I think that there's a couple ways to think about this. Like one is like what we're trying to do is like be an example like we're talking about here. Like here's some representative ways that you can copy and use in your own marketing. But it's
Yeah.
also like, how about we just show every year we show up with 3 to 5,000 eager readers in a room and you
Yeah.
just come. Like how easy is that kind of marketing? Right.
Yeah.
Now, it may be a little challenging if you're not comfortable being at a live event and doing signings, but like I think it's something that we can help you get comfortable with. So there's that facet of marketing. The other is what we're talking about here is like, how could you use this? It's like, well, a couple of things I think is like, rather than trying to market to everybody in the world, what if you shrunk down and just started focusing on readers that are in your metro area, right?
Yeah.
One, you're going to get better economics on your advertising that you're running,
For sure.
right? And you could do something like we're doing um, with like a virtual signing, right? So what if you were to market, hey, I'm gonna, it's free and just get online and we're gonna talk about, urban fantasy books and start building a community of your own and not be so focused on like buy my book, but hey, I'm going to get together 10 or 20 people in this area virtually to talk about urban fantasy books. um, I think the part that gets real hard for authors, and this comes out of this whole like e-commerce, you've got to have an ROI, is thinking about spending a couple dollars to get a lead that you're then going to have to nurture over time,
Yeah.
right? Versus a lot of us who built our initial business on the idea of like, I drive people to a one-click buy on Amazon and I can see results, right? And this kind of goes back to the article, is that stuff's not going to work anymore. It's not
Yeah.
going to work like you thought it would, because you have, the systems on the platforms like Reddit and Facebook that are looking for data. Like they need to see the loop close. They need to, and so like why our system has been so powerful is, we're running a conversion ad on somebody signing up for a lead on our site, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, it's going up in price, but there was a point in this where we were making 71 cents for every lead that signed up.
Whoa.
Yeah, so think about that. There was a point. It's not that way anymore, but in the beginning when it was really kind of humming, we'd have enough people buying the VIP bags that when you divided it by the total number of uh, people that signed up, we would make 71 cents.
And so you were in the
Now,
black. 71 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, when you have, you know,
multiplied times 3,000.
right, that stuff adds up. I'll take the 71 cents. Throw your
Right,
pennies at
right.
me.
What it's doing is it's paying for itself in
Yeah.
advertising, right? So it's like the leads, now we're at a different point. Now it's
Yeah.
costing us about $2 a lead. And like, why
Okay.
would you pay $2 a lead, Joe? It's like, because now we have those people to nurture, right? And our whole thing is gets back to what we were talking about earlier. This experience is like, okay, so we have um, this free ticket. We know we're not going to have everyone show up. Let's say it's about 30%. So we had 2,000 people show up.
Yeah.
They have an amazing experience. They come away with some books, some that they got for free, some that they bought. They now part of this community. I don't have to go find them again.
Right.
They're asking me who's going to be here next year? Who like, when do I sign up? Right? Like that's the part that people don't get, is that we're looking to build these customers for life. And I think when you go back to like your initial question, like how could an author use this? If you were doing something like I talked about, where it's like, oh, I'm going to focus local, I'm going to build this kind of little book club of mine. Um, those people will eventually become your advocacy group,
Yeah.
and you don't pay them. They're out there pitching your books and saying, oh, you need to read Dale's book. And you need, like, it's old school marketing, but it still works.
Yeah, that belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, it does work tremendously well. I know I had interviewed an author more recently on the Self Publishing with Ally podcast, and she wholeheartedly believes that every author should start grassroots in their community because it will grow so much faster and so much quicker because it's local. You're not having to spend a ton of money or anything else like that. But I can start to rabbit trail on this one. I got so many more questions for you here.
Sorry.
So one of the things that you've said this time and again, that authors need to treat their writing like a business if they want to be paid like a business. What's the first mindset shift authors have to make to really embrace that?
Um, so this is something that we're addressing in Author Nation, and
Yeah.
it's in essence, it's that what you've said there. It's treating it like a business, and a business is
Hmm.
revenue minus expenses equals profit. Like if you don't turn a profit, you're never going to be able to make this thing sustainable.
Yeah.
So like one of the things we discovered last year at the show was we did this big survey, and like we recognize that there's three things that every author can do that gets them four times more profit and 18 months sooner. And those things
Oh,
aren't
good.
running Facebook ads. They're having an accountability partner,
Okay.
having mentors, and uh, having a network.
Yeah.
But it's really about the community and having these people that support you. When we see when authors say they have those things, like their businesses have these results. So we can create that, and that's kind of like the building blocks of Author Nation. And so like, um, what if we don't just talk about making money, we build systems that have these features. For example, we have this Kickstarter cohort. So Oriana Leckert, who's the head of publishing at Kickstarter, every other month, she's having a call with our people, the folks that are participating in it. Um, they get hot seated, they go through, and you don't have to go to our show to do this. Like you can, this is free. It's like it's part of the community
Yeah.
because it's core to what we're trying to do is teach you how to break even, right? So the the numbers are in. Like we know this works because we've had a year. And in the
Mhm.
case of this Kickstarter cohort, um, they projected their goal was $43,000 in money raised amongst it was about 30 Kickstarters. We're just over halfway through those, and we're at
Oh,
$183,000.
wow. Congrats on that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So so like and then when you dive deeper into that, like what you can see is um, we have a fair few people that this is their debut novel. So
Yeah.
they've said, I've written my book. I'm going to launch here, and they were hoping to maybe raise $500. They knew it was going to cost them more than that to publish, but like, hey, I'm trying to pull off my first Kickstarter on my
Mhm.
first book. I don't want it to be a flop. And the average is $1,600 raised. So
Wow.
this just proves out the point is like statistically that's an anomaly in the industry that you on your debut novel you make $1,600. That's you're this is what's so hard for people to understand. That puts you in the top 1% of the industry,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that is like, wow, is it really that dismal? It's like, yes, it is.
You're like, yeah, it is that bad.
Yeah, yeah. Most people,
Yeah.
most titles lose money,
True. Seems you
right?
pay for that cover, the editing, any of that stuff built marketing and promotion. It does add up after a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you think like, oh, I'm going to write a series and I'm an unknown writer, it's like I've got three covers. I got three rounds of editing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so you could be into these projects pretty significantly and not seeing results. So the way that we're kind of looking at this is like, how can we create systems, right? It's not just a show, it's about these systems, right?
Yeah.
And they layer onto each other. Like, for example, we're going to have a whole space at Reader Nation that's people that are doing Kickstarters. And we did a Kickstarter anthology, romance anthology, that the special edition, what the top tier is you pick it up at the show, right?
Nice.
So we're like, and what's that gets, it's an experience, right? Like
Yeah.
for me to come and meet five or six of those authors and get that anthology signed and hang out and get my swag bag. That's what I want to do with my Friday afternoon.
It's genius. It seems so small, but it does, from a reader perspective, create a very unique experience that you're not going to be able to get too often.
Right. And then you're
Yeah.
there and you see that there's six other authors that are doing Kickstarters. And if you're somebody that's into collecting special editions, this is good research for you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the part where like people wonder like, why am I doing this and what's this all about? And why and Susan and I are having so much fun with it. This is our playground. This is how we create. And like
Yeah.
we see that our opportunity to just create massive value with this brand is like we're really well suited for it. What we would never be able to do is me writing books to do it, right? Not fiction, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. Hey, our time has gone so fast. I have so many more questions. Joe, I knew that this was going to be like this. And by the way, big shout out. We have over 50 people at some point here. It's actually around 44 people watching live. So big shout out to everybody watching live. We're going to do a Q&A.
Thank you.
I have one more question here for you before we start to wrap things up. Looking ahead, where do you see book marketing heading in, say, the next 2 to 3 years? And how can authors prepare now so they don't get left behind?
Yeah, so and this gets to probably the back half of that whole article that I put together. There's an enormous amount of money and time being spent on AI and recommendation. Okay. So authors that are worried about people writing AI with books, those aren't the droids you're looking for. The thing that you want to be focused on is how AI is going to be used to do things behind the scenes. So when Amazon's figuring this out, this is if you go read all their current work, it's how do we take the existing technology around AI and not train it on words, but train it on customer behavior. So an LLM that's trained on clicks and page views and scrolls, and how can that become a predictive engine, right? So thinking about how everything you do in your marketing demonstrates to the engine, and this gets to be this whole idea of training it that you talked about. You're trying to find the seed audience that becomes the representative example for the machine learning to look at and say, oh, these people convert at 3 times what other people convert at when they, let me go find more people like that for you. Right. So it's doing things smaller and cleaner in signal versus like, I'm going to send traffic. If you want to send traffic, send it to your website and clean it up and get that signal of here's the people that are really interested in my book that want to buy on Amazon, then send them over there. And when you send over less traffic at a higher conversion, the logic is compelled to go find more people like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the like, think about how you're doing those things long term. How are you training all of these systems? And we didn't really touch on it, but it's an important thing to think about. Those slow systems are really slow.
Yeah.
Like they're doing things weekly and monthly. And once something gets ingrained, it's there on an average that could be as long as 6 months. So that's where I would be focusing.
So it's the long game. A lot of people shouldn't be so chasing after those quick victories anymore. We need to focus on those long games, just stacking slow but sure and getting up to the top. I love this, man. This conversation with you, Joe, I feel like we could have gone probably about 2 to 3 hours, but unfortunately, I want to make sure that we get to our live viewers. Real quick, though, I think it'd be crazy for me not to say this, that Author Nation, folks, we are going to be there. Let's see here, November the 3rd to the 7th, right?
Yes.
I've said it so many times. I think I'm saying it in my sleep now. So, folks, you can go ahead and get yourself a ticket. You head on over to my affiliate link, dalelinks.com/AuthorNation. There's a link down below. You get all the information. By the way, I will be speaking there. I'm going to MC, and also I'm going to be doing some man-on-the-street interviews. So, yes, you guys are going to see my video camera set up. Come over, say hi. You'll recognize me. Pretty easy to pick out. Again, that's dalelinks.com/AuthorNation. And by the way, if you can't make it in person, there is a digital access ticket. So, get either one of them. You are not going to regret it because, oh my gosh, Joe, what do you do? Like, do you sleep? There's like 50 speakers, I think. Like, how many speakers are you guys up to now?
70.
Seven. Okay, I was way under.
Yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't include panelists. Like I think we
Woo.
get up to, yeah. Um, and this is actually smaller because of how we're doing Reader Nation this year.
Yeah.
Because of the two locations, we're not having panels there. Usually we would have more panelists. Reader.
Mm.
Yeah, we have like I've built and scaled businesses, so for me this is not hard,
It's another day at the
especially
office.
yeah,
Yeah.
like um my I have an amazing team with Jamie Davis and Jen Green and Shel Honecker, my wife Suze. We have all these folks that have been working all year round, and but this is our second year, so we've automated so much of this, and I think that to kind of pimp the show more is like if you're not coming to something like this, whether it's our show or similar shows. I mean, ours I think by far is the preeminent one. You're being left behind. And I'm not saying that to be FOMO-ish. It's like there are people in this industry that are showing up and learning stuff and talking. And that those are the people that are driving this industry. And it's not so much what you learn at Dale's session, which will be helpful. He's talking about community, but like the conversation that you could have in the hallway. Right.
Yes, those are the
And then the other
best.
thing, which you don't even know about, but like we're going to talk about after we bounce off of this, we've got some ideas about some new features that are rolling out that I think might be something you'd be interested in kind of emceeing. So like that's the part of the show that like it's we're you can maybe it'll be an epic fail, but like we're trying these things out for you
Yeah.
to figure out where the industry's going, and
Yeah.
that's what first mover advantage looks like. It's like sometimes it's like you get egg on your face, sometimes you're like, oh, you're so smart, how did you figure that out?
You're like, yeah, I planned it like that all along.
Yes.
It happens sometimes. Tanya's writing realm also noticed the Star Wars reference. That was tremendous. That's why I laughed and clapped. These are not the choice. Good reference. Kevin Hall says mentors are great, and there are several in this industry, such as Dale, who shares so much valuable info for authors. Kevin, that is extraordinarily nice of you to say. I know Kevin is actually going to be to Author Nation. He is looking forward to being there in person. Mojo Seedlack, how you doing, Mojo? It's great to see you. I'm gonna give a couple shout outs. If you guys got a question for Joe, please load us up now before the hour wraps up, because after that, his carriage turns into a pumpkin and he's got to leave. So, all joking aside, though, I do appreciate you, Joe, coming on here. Storyteller Susan says, hey, everyone. Soccer Dad says, great topic. I just uploaded my first Amazon KDP Select ebook. Thanks for this. Joe, for Soccer Dad, what's some advice that you would give to him now that he has his book published over into KDP Select?
Yeah, I think that when you're getting started, um, if it's one book, this is the one like what I call the book from your soul. Um, make sure people know about it and you promote it, but understand that it's don't don't set yourself up for disappointment by thinking it's going to be a number one bestseller,
Yeah.
right? Because any day that you release, there's thousands of authors releasing titles, and some of these people are big deals. Like they've got 100,000 names on a list. Yeah. Um, so like to think that every book is just going to skyrocket like that, we know that it takes time. And
Yeah.
think about that book. If you are going to be long-term writing, that's your first sample to teach the engine what you're about. So
Mhm.
don't be like me and make a bunch of short-term choices that may pollute that sample. Go write another book, go build that audience like we talked about on your website, and start to bring those people over. Think about this as a rinse and repeat kind of model. Um, because my hope is if you are going to be a full-time author, that you're doing this for the next 30, 40 years, putting out a couple books a year or whatever your tempo is. Like
Yeah.
that's one of those two-edged swords. Like one thing, it's like, oh, it's what I dreamed for. And then you're like, oh my God, that sounds a lot like a job.
Oddly enough, because it is.
Guess what?
Yeah. Let's see here. Sarah Walladay, it's great to see you join us here. William Brinkman's got a question. Does Amazon check reads for non-KU ebooks? And to my understanding, Joe, you did say that it covers all ebooks that are purchased through the Amazon Marketplace. Am I correct in
Yeah,
saying that?
yeah, yeah. Certainly, we know on the KU side, they're tracking that because that's part of their revenue model for paying
Yeah.
authors. So like it's very clear they're doing that. But what I'm saying, what their research has said is that they are tracking usage on all digital products. So
Wow.
you're watching a show on Prime Video, they know how many minutes you watched.
Mhm.
Listening to a book on Audible, they know how far you've listened. Reading inside the book, they know how far where people are dropping off.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'd be curious, and maybe you have this answered, and I just wasn't paying attention. Is there more weight put on a longer book versus a shorter book? Let's just say there's 10 pages versus 1,000 pages. Someone reads that 10 pages in no time. Does that give more value to that? Or is that something that's kind of in the black box that we can only theorize over?
That'd be more theory. I
Yeah,
do know that what would get a lot of weighting is books getting finished because the reality is most books don't get finished,
it's
especially
true.
nonfiction books, right?
Yeah, I know. It's it's a good reason why I'm pivoting to fiction here.
Yeah, so I think that that gets to the heart of like what's the best marketing you could ever do
Yeah,
is write a compelling book, right? And that means that the first sentence gets them through the first paragraph, that gets them through the first page, that gets them through the first chapter, right? Like that that's going to be what um, really drives your marketing long term is the reader satisfaction of the book experience.
yeah. All right, we've got a few remaining questions, so I'm going to rapid fire them here to you, Joe, so that way we're not keeping you too long past the hour here. Kevin Hall says, will keywords be as important going forward as we've been taught now to update them periodically?
Yeah, I do think keywords are going to continue to be important. Um, I think they're going to be even what's going to get real interesting is loops that are going to create where now that you see Amazon is using generative AI to scour reviews and make like synopses,
Yeah,
um, the logical uh, marketing in this industry is somebody's going to create something where I can go and scrape that information and update my keywords faster. And I think we'll just get into a like another one of these, uh, you know, arms races with technology where you may be having a system that updates your keywords on the fly hourly.
gotcha. All right. Retired Early says, hi, guys. I love your content. As a nonfiction author, my first book still accounts for 90% of my sales. Follow up books haven't sold as well. What can I do if they're more standalone?
I think that's something I'd need to like really understand more about the
Yeah.
deal because are they, are they similar? Are they follow up? Um, you know, my take on nonfiction is always the chances of you making a bunch of money on your book isn't really where most of the revenue is. The book is what gets you busy, right? The book helps people understand the problem that you solve or the experience that you're going to guide them through.
Yeah.
And I would be wondering is that true with these other books? Is it just kind of add-on information? I would need to really know more to answer that question. But again, I think with nonfiction, um, whereas like in fiction, you're trying to give the person an experience and
Mhm.
in nonfiction, you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to give them some kind of aspirational value. And so like,
Yeah.
how does that fit with the rest of your brand?
Nice. All right, folks, it is getting towards the end of things, and I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in. My apologies, we didn't get all the questions, but please feel free to watch the replay, drop the comments on there, and I'll shoot it on over to Joe when he's got a free moment, of
Yep.
course. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Again, today, folks, there is a link to his latest article inside the show notes, and of course, join us at Author Nation. DaleLinks.com/AuthorNation. Go grab your ticket through my affiliate link. It would be very much appreciated. And make sure if you do come, say hi. Joe's pretty
Yeah.
approachable too. I think, he doesn't bite.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think. I do every now and then. Like, but if you bring some Doritos or something, I'm pretty good then. Joe, thank you. How can people get a hold of you, by the way?
So, authornation.live is where they can learn all things about the show. Readernation.live if you're a reader in the area that's looking to get a ticket. I know one of the big questions is going to be like, oh, I want to sign at Reader Nation this year. All the tables are sold. So, come
Wow.
and get on the mailing list. We're 30 days away. Like a lot of stuff is done. Right? So,
And you've also got me placed up in Reader Nation too. I'm going to be doing the man on the street interviews there for that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yes,
Yeah,
so
and there's
be
like,
there.
we'll talk. There's something else after this I got to talk to you about because
Nice.
but yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking to do. Is it makes for just a more fun experience when
Yeah.
you're there doing the emceeing along with some of the other folks like Mark Leslie Lefebvre and
Ah,
Kevin
legend.
Tomlinson and yeah, so like and to your point, we're all approachable. Like
Yes.
I'll be busy, but that doesn't mean you can't come up and say hi and we have a little chat. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Very
I'm
good.
there to meet people.
Well, Joe, thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to kick you on over to the green room, help yourself to the pretzels and M&Ms, and I'll be with you in just a moment here. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor and hit a little thumbs up here, and of course, share it with a friend who would enjoy it as well. I want to thank Joe Solari from the bottom of my heart. It's always great that you take a little bit of time to spend some time with us. If you did enjoy it again, like, share. Till later, let's roll that beautiful bean footage. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Special shout out to my channel members for both the podcast channel and the main channel. Without your support, some projects we do at Self-Publishing with Dale would be much harder to fund. If you want to contribute to the cause, visit dalelinks.com/memberships for details and get your on-screen shout out at the end of each broadcast. Till later, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I'll see you soon.